Cecylia Słapakowa, who was a writer, a journalist, also a very important translator. She came from a Russian-speaking Jewish family. She held meetings of other important literary people from the Jewish literary life, and then continued to do so in the ghetto. So she was very important in that scene, but she was asked by Ringelblum to interview women and to write an essay on Jewish women during the Holocaust. This is part of the second stage of Ringelblum's work, when they already gathered documentation and they start actually processing it. So they start writing those in-depth essays, which are meant to deal with various aspects of life at the ghetto. So there is an essay on children, on economy of the ghetto, on administration, and so on Jewish cultural life. And what she was asked to do was write about women. The title of this program today, so about shades of heroism, actually comes from this fascinating essay. Because what she does here is she interviews 16 women coming from all walks of life. And she could really have easily, if she wanted to, could have chosen women who are active in social work, people who we consider to be typically heroic, let's say, right? So in a traditional way of understanding heroism. But what she does is she brings women who cope with the reality of the ghetto in very, very different ways, which are, those ways are based on the background and where they come from, the previous history, the situation in the ghetto as well. So she talks to a woman who works as a cleaner and is a refugee. She talks to a woman who sells vegetables on the street. She talks to a woman who's a waitress and then gets involved in sex work in the ghetto as well. But she also speaks to social activists, and she also speaks to a woman who holds a PhD. So they are very, very different. They deal with ghetto reality in a very different way, because they can only deal in a certain way. They're only given that many options of reacting to what's happening around them. But what they share is this unbelievable heroism of heroically taking day after day and surviving day after day, providing not only for themselves, but also for those around them, because sometimes the children, in many cases, but in other cases, it's the parents, it's the siblings, it's the whole group of people who are reliant on their work. These are really in-depth, fascinating, in terms of literary scholarship, also fascinating vignettes into the life of Jewish women. She writes about them, she describes them, she writes what they look like, how they act, and how they speak, and then she moves into the story, which also importantly starts at the beginning of the war. It doesn't start with the closure of the ghetto. It usually starts at the beginning of the war, showing, and this is really important in terms of historical sources, important documents, because it shows us life also before the closure of the ghetto. It shows us increasing persecution against Jews. It shows us the deteriorating situation and the way in which those women try to cope with it and try to deal with it. She doesn't use full names. We know one of them. Barbara Bermanova is one person who we have deciphered. All the rest have only initials. But she describes them so vividly and with so much emotions and with so much, I don't know if compassion is the right word really, because she's in awe of them. I don't think there is much compassion. I think she's actually in awe of how strong they are. Whatever they may be doing, even if that means that they wake up every day and sell vegetables by the ghetto wall, because that's the only way they can survive, or if they go and smuggle, or if they do things like smuggling, which we may not consider to be heroic today, were not considered heroic during the war or after the war. So things which may be seen as questionable, which are not straightforward heroism, but for her it is heroism, because it is part of this will to live, which they all share.